Okay, so what should come first, the video or the music? And like I think the ideal case is like how we are going to be now. I'm gonna do a project called Moonwalkers, and I will do the music first. I mean, I will do the main theme first. So then the actors go to have rehearsals and practice, and then they will
Mm-hmm.
shoot the thing, and then I will do again. I will accommodate the new music to
Yeah, I
you
see.
see, but we need to be ready to work without video as well because it happens a lot that you have to start working on the music and you have never heard the video and all of that jazz. So yeah,
It's
yeah,
so it's the same answer to a question that starts with what comes first, egg
yeah.
or chicken.
It's like a bit of both. Yeah, like what comes first, the egg of the chicken, and I don't know. It's like the chicken egg is what comes first. Like I don't know how to say
Like
it.
chicken nuggets.
Yeah, the chicken nuggets. Exactly, exactly. The chicken nuggets is what comes first. Like I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. Um, mm. and what exactly are you writing music for? Is it like a reclama or what's up? What are you doing?
I don't really know.
Ah,
I
you don't
don't
know.
really know.
Hmm.
Yeah, he just asked for music and I produce.
I see. I see. I see. I see.
Like it should be like for some video or I don't know, like for some kind of content.
Yeah, I see.
But I don't know. We'll see.
We'll
We'll
see.
see.
Good luck with that. Is it going to be for TikTok or something, or you don't know? You also don't know this format, nothing.
I don't know. No, I don't really know.
Hmm.
Like I don't know if he will like my like
Ah,
works,
okay. I see. I see. I see. All right.
but he will. Like it's a matter
Great.
of time.
Great. 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 Good job, man. Good job. Good job. That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So look, today we continue. We stopped like a couple of weeks ago, so maybe it's hard to remember what the hell were we doing. So let's remember what we're doing. Basically, today's conversation is mostly going to be about expanders. Do you use expanders?
What do you mean?
Aha, that's exactly what I wanted. We're gonna talk about expanders. Like, I
No,
mean,
I mean like I know some type of expander. Like I know expander is a kind of compression, and
yes.
expander is stereo image expander.
No, no, I'm talking about compression, not
Okay,
stereo
okay.
image. Yeah, I'm
I
talking
see,
about
I see.
compression. Yeah, because this is the end of the little module of compression. Like we had compression part one, compression part two, compressing for a reason part one, part two, and now we are in a lecture that is called Beyond Compression, just following the book of Mike Senior. So look, I feel in the mood today because we have been so far away from each other. I feel in the mood today to start with the summary of everything we have discussed in this course so far. So choosing monitors is important. Um, we need to change subjective impressions of what we're hearing into objective mixing decisions. Um, we need to change the sources that we're using when we mix, like, I mean, basically different speakers, different microphones. I know it's kind of stupid that I'm repeating everything, but I just want us to, this is a lecture to go back to focus. So choosing good reference is important, of course. You need to have a good way to switch between mixes with the touch of a button. Better, there is all this question, and this is a good conversation where we can stop for a moment and discuss something here that I think is really important, and it's a good conversation to have. I'm going to read you what I wrote here, and then I'm going to tell you something that happened to me recently. If you find you need to apply mastering style loudness processing to your own mix in order to allow more representative comparisons and get heavily processed commercial records, then it's important that you remove this process when generating your final mix down, even when you plan to master a track yourself. So,
You mean like you put limiter on master?
da, Ghetto Master, Ghetto Master. Look, about the Ghetto Master, I want to tell you this story that happened to me recently, and I think it's useful to discuss about this. Wait, I'm looking for my charger. Ah, there it is. Okay, I think it's important to discuss about this, just to give you some tips on some client management situations. Um, like I am right now working. This is crazy, bro. I am working at the same time in 37 songs. It's very crazy, but it's what is happening to me right now. That's kind of why I was offline last week. I was like, no, man, like I need to just rest my ears, my head, so I'd stop doing bad job and stop and blah blah.
Yeah,
Um,
but it sounds basic.
ah,
Sounds basic.
what do you mean? That sounds basic.
It's not a lot. 37 or 38. We need more.
Yeah, we need more, exactly. We need more. It needs another 13, so it gets to 50. Like when it's 50, it sounds okay.
Yes.
So no, let me tell you what was going on. Like I was mixing for a client, and they started getting complicated with me. Like I mean, it started feeling that they were not so happy with the results, and I have this problem usually with people that are not from Moscow. And so I started feeling like, I have a feeling that these guys, they don't understand the difference between mastering and mixing. And I have a feeling that these guys, they are listening to mixes in Spotify, and they are comparing it with my mix, which is not a mix loud. And so I went to them and I rendered them. I told them, guys, let's have a meeting. We had a meeting, we discussed, I explained, and then I send them mix loud. I don't like to send mix loud. I don't like to do this at all. I like to just stay on the mix until the end. But yeah, I mean, I thought like, these guys, I'm losing them. They're starting to get nervous. So I sent the mix loud, and then they were like, oh fuck, like the mixes that we thought were wrong are actually good. It's just like we didn't know how they were going to expand. So I don't know what you do usually, but I recommend you to work most of the time in your non-ghetto master mix, and only at the end, if you have a problem, you share with them the mix loud just to see, in case they get nervous about something. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, I always do that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just went through this like a couple of days ago, and it was obviously quite useful.
I predicted this situation, and
you need to be you need to be one step ahead and ready to predict it. So another conversation here is about stems. Like I mean, to render stems, it's actually nowadays I'm starting to mix like that, which is that I kind of like, you see, I'm going to show you my screen here. I have all these guitar tracks there that are broken down into its inner components, like the eyes, plex, and the microphones and stuff, and then I make a stereo render of all of that, and I forget about all those tracks. You understand what I mean?
What do you mean stereo render?
Like, I mean, sorry, I made a mistake here.
Like a sum of things or what?
Yeah. I'm talking about, just grabbing the guitar boss and render it, so I don't have all these tracks separately.
Yeah. I call it consolidate.
Yeah, consolidate, exactly. So that's what I'm just looking at these old topics that we discussed already, like proper mix. A recent trend is to print submitted stems for which the mix can be created. So this is really useful. Proper mixing prep is super important, obviously. Standardized track layout is super important. There is a persistent studio myth with performance timing. So basically, you should edit everything. For you, this is all super obvious, Andruja. When live elements are being mixed with machine elements, you have to make sure that everything is synced up and in phase. Time stretching can help us. It's good for local work. One needs to learn about phase and crossfades types. We discussed this a long time ago. There are strategic risks. There are strategies to mask editing artifacts. We discussed this very well. Time adjustments are super necessary. If you haven't already come to most of your important live recording part into your chosen mix, then do it now. Compare the comp version with the original one take wonder. This is like about comping and choosing better takes. Arrangement is super important part of mixing. Search for like things that don't repeat so much. It's important. This is so super obvious. Musical sections and instruments, rank them in order in importance, and this can help you. Tools such as changing phase and time shifting and phase rotation and all of those things can improve things a lot. So a lot of things are, wow, we have discussed a lot of things. I'm very happy that all of these things are important. I mean, basically, phase relationships are 80% of your mix. Clean things with high pass and low pass. Consider technical issues like monocompatibility, like check monocompatibility a lot. Spend time with faders and use monitor system to get a clear initial balance. The fundamental question to answer when balancing is with a compressor is a compressor helping the balance? Do I like the subjective quality of the compression of the sound? Refinements in a compressor settings won't help if they distract from the fundamental questions, and if the first compressor of choice doesn't give you the desired balance of tone, then switch to another one. And these are the things that we saw last time, the things that are in Violetta. Wait. I made a mistake here, sorry. Yeah, I see. This thing should not be here, sorry. I made a mistake there. Let me just put this here, like this, like this, like this. Refinements in compressor settings won't help if this is a fundamental question. If the first compressor of choice, what the hell am I doing? Chaining compressors in series or using parallel processing setup can provide more clean balance power, so compressing in series is really cool. Don't aim for perfection, aim to make the mix better. And if you have any problems, I'm having a problem myself here because we talked about parallel compression last time. And I should have had, wait, let me just go here 1 second and grab it from here. Excuse me, I just want to keep that track of development of things. I really like to do that. Here, refinements. No, this is not correct. Okay, I need to add it later, I guess. Give me just 1 second. Yeah, I'm gonna put this. Yep. Yep, that's all. That's what I wanted. So I'm gonna just put this here. Parallel processing and the compressors in chain is really important. And yeah, parallel processing is especially helpful for transient rich instruments such as drums, tuned percussion, pianos, etc. And yeah, another reason to exploit parallel processing if you want to overdrive characterful vintage style compressors, insert for juicy tonal and distortional artifacts. So that's kind of like a summary of what we did in this whole year. So where we're going next is a section called Beyond Compression. So let's just go and see. I want to kind of explore expander, gates, and transient designers, Imina, and discuss them a bit. And this will close the compression part. And then we're going to actually discuss a little bit back into equalization for a while. And in parallel, I'm going to give you from next week a multimedia project. We will start also the multimedia part of our course. By the way, Andruja, have you started meeting with Ilya or not?
Not yet. I actually wrote him about the lecture because I thought it has been already started.
No, but I think they haven't. We need to talk.
But
Masha said a couple of weeks ago that it will start a bit later.
Okay, let me drop a note here. Hello, Dima.
last week he said me like we start soonish.
Okay, I'm gonna write here in the year 3. Dear Masha, a quick reminder about audio, about the lectures of Ilya for the year 3, just so we don't forget. Okay, done. Great. How are you, Dima? I didn't notice when you arrived. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. All right, so yeah, now we're gonna move beyond compression and discuss expander, gates, and transient designers. Guys, I kind of was underusing expanders until 2 weeks ago, and I started using them a lot, and it's such a useful thing. So
expander, is it like when it's like anti-compression?
Yeah, it's an anti-compressor, exactly. It just makes the quieter things quieter. Makes the quieter things quieter. It's like you will see, it's like a gate. It's basically like a gate, but it's a softer gate. Now, usually these courses kind of ignore expanders a lot, and they are so useful. And I managed to fix one problem that I always had all my life with an expander, and I am very excited to share that with you.
I never use them. I don't really actually know how to use it.
Yeah, okay. That's what I wanted to discuss today. So let's go. Compression is one type of automatic gain changing effect, right? And the dynamic processes, of course, we can use it a lot for different types of activities in the mixdown, and there are many types of dynamic processes. There are other members of the dynamic family. It sounds like the Invincibles, you know, like the Incredibles. Sorry, this cartoon, like I don't know, the dynamic family. And many people ignore them. And these are useful in certain situations. So let's discuss the applications of those processes. So we're going to discuss expander gates and transient designers. So compressors, expanders, and audio gates are all tools used in processing to control the dynamics of the signal, obviously. And so audio compression reduces the dynamic range. This is important. Reduces the dynamic range, right? The audio compressor reduces the dynamic range of an audio signal by changing the amplitude of the signal while leaving changing the level of high amplitude signal while leaving low amplitude signals unchanged. So an audio expansion is the opposite of compression. It increases the dynamic range of an audio signal. So instead of decreasing it, you see it increases the dynamic range of a signal. Just let me just put it here, up, up, up. It increases the dynamic range of a signal by increasing or decreasing, depending if you have auto gain on. You can do this, both increase the level of the quieter parts, which you would be compressing, because you can do this also with an expander just if you have auto gain on. But most of the times you want to be decreasing the level of low amplitude signals while leaving high amplitude signals unchanged. This can be used to bring out subtle details in an audio signal. For example, in a recording studio, a musician maybe is playing very soft plucked guitars, and they can get lost on the mix or something. Like, you can use an expander to do something like that. Audio expander can be used to bring out that detail and that depth to the mix. So audio gating, on the other hand, it's a tool that controls the level of an audio signal based on a threshold. I mean, it's basically, you will see audio gates and expanders are 100% the same. Look, actually, the best way to see this, I was thinking about this yesterday, it's like the best way to see this is like there are compressors and limiters. Gates are the limiters of the expander, basically. It's a gate and an expander are exactly the same. It's just like a gate has infinite ratio, and an expander has adjustable ratio, and it doesn't exactly works with ratio. It works more with a parameter called range, and we will discuss this today. So if a signal falls below the threshold, then the gate closes and blocks the signal from passing through, and so you can control background noise with this, and that's really cool, and we have discussed a bit about this in the past. So these tools are really cool to control the dynamics of an audio signal and can be used in many situations to improve the quality of the sound. So I don't know, I'm going to start right now quickly by looking at something in Ableton, and so I'm going to have to open it and let it running, and then we will look into something inside Pro Tools. Just give me a sec. So Dima, have you used expanders before? Have you ever used expanders?
Not really.
Not really. Okay, great. Like, I mean, I'm telling you, I sorted the age-old problem on my life with an expander a couple of days ago, and I'm really excited to show you how. So while Ableton is loading, I will continue. Sometimes it has this problem. So I'm kind of repeating myself here, and I know this was an introductory section. Expansion is dynamic range, increases dynamic range by turning down the quiet sounds, and that's an opposite to compressor. They can be useful to balance the mix, including reducing low-level background noise, reducing hi-hat spill on a snare closed mic. That motherfucker, it's the worst thing ever, and I'm so happy that we have a tool to fix that. And reducing the level of a drum sample sustain, for example, you can do envelope shaping, with expanders too, and do a lot of cool stuff. We're gonna do all those stuffs today. A ratio of 1:1 causes no expansion, and a higher ratio of 4:1 will reduce the level of sub-threshold signals. Some expanders offer ratio infinity to 1, and that's a gate, basically, which is effectively mutes any signal below the threshold, and this procedure is commonly known as gating. So, mistake here, up. So what are the parameters that we usually see in a gate? That's what I wanted to open. Well, I'll open the Pro Tools one. Meanwhile, and actually I have a case here that we can use right away. Let me open another mix. Okay, and wait, that's the one I was working on this morning. Save changes to the SHT mix 30. Don't save. Don't save. Yeah, don't save. Loading. Yeah, I don't care. No, I don't care. Ableton just opened. What the hell? Give me my Pro Tools, please. It's not responding. I think it's because I'm opening them both at the same time. He kind of didn't like that. Let me see, is Ableton working already? Yes. Well, I'm going to start with the Ableton one, and then I'll go to the Pro Tools one. So, gate, audio effects. So I should have here, is there like an expander? I think it's going to be called gate in Ableton. Just gate. Dynamic tube, no. Multiband dynamics, multiband gate. Gate, here it is. So, and let me load a sample here. Actually, I can take a snare from this precise recording. So let me just grab it here, audio files, and then let me just grab here a snare top. So many tracks. Snare top, yeah, here, this snare is great, the KM, and let's just load it here. Where I was, here, snare top, KM, okay, and this is an audio track, let me see. It's off, yeah. Great, this is perfect example. Yeah, this is perfect example. Okay. These guys, I mean, it's so annoying part of mixing, and okay, this is a very good case. So let's go through the parameters first, and then discuss more stuff. Can I make this larger? No, right? I cannot make it larger, right? You can only see it here. Well,
no, you can only press on a triangle to
yeah, just to reveal more features. Okay,
So you
so
can zoom in Mac.
yeah, I get it. Can you see something there, or
Barely.
barely? You said?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I can see it because I know.
Yeah. So if you know this, Bratan, you have already used an expander, because the only difference between an expander and a gate is the amount of, like, I mean, it's the range. It's something that is called range usually. Let me see here. What are the options? Because I have never used this gate, or I have used it like one time or two. Let me just see something, learn something, and then I'll show you later.
Or it is like where this is minimum. How can I explain? На какой громкости будет играть сэмпл?
Да.
If you set it on 0, it will.
Yeah, just a second. So it's kind of like it has two. That's also called, guys, hysteresis. It's also called in some systems. It's called hysteresis. So right now we have a situation that anything under the gate, it just doesn't opens, and so whatever is under the gate just doesn't opens, and it will not produce any sound, basically. I mean, it would keep the gate closed and it will not produce any sound. Blin, the Pro Tools one is just so much capable. Like, I can do so much more with that. I'm gonna show it to you in a second, but I just wanted to start with the Ableton one. Or maybe it's just because I'm used to it. So what do I want? I want to protect the snare hits and to make sure that the hi-hat goes away. So I want, you see, like, I want anything under this line is going to make it quieter. Let's try to go there, and let me try to make this louder so the demonstration is more clear. Let me turn this down and open this guy here. Yeah, now it's gonna be a lot more clear because I can do this. I can leave my threshold like this. And let me see something. Yeah. The main point of this demonstration, guys, is like you can get rid of bleed with an expander very well. You don't need to be gating things so harshly in order for you to achieve that. So what's happening? Under the transient, the system is reducing everything that is under the transient by how much? 6 decibels? Let me see. Yeah, you see, like here is it reducing it by 53 decibels. Let me change the release. So how do you guys usually get rid of the hi-hat when you have a problem like that?
A gate.
You use a gate. And you use a gate, so it means that you use infinite как сказать, infinite ratio.
Maybe yeah. But I use this gate, so I don't know.
Okay, let me open the Pro Tools one just so we have a comparison. I'm kind of leaving a little bit in the experimental side, and then we will go back to the slides where I have this kind of like laid out. Let me just go here and open this guy here. One sec. Let's see if it opens. I think it should open. Great. Whew. Just looking at my client's chat, and the guys telling me that they like what I did last night, because I was a little bit insecure about it. Okay, great. So I think Pro Tools is opening. Those are my clients. Oh no, that's my wife. That's my biggest client. Сейчас, секундочку. Just a moment, guys, sorry. Okay, cool. So, wait. Let's go to Pro Tools. Let me switch this off. Mute. No, I don't want to mute my wife. I just want to close Ableton. Close this. Let's go here. No, 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 no. Come on, brother. No, no. Here we go. Yeah. It's the same. We're gonna see the same, but it's just like more intuitive. I think this it will teach us more about what an expander is if we see this gate that I'm gonna show you, this expander. So I'm gonna go again to the snare. It's the same kind of recording. It's not the same kind of, it is the same recording. And you see I have here an expander and a gate. Let's solo only this guy. Wait. Let's solo only this guy, and let's bypass it for a moment. So there is a lot of hi-hat and very little snare. So let's go back to our slides. What do we got in a gate? We have a gate and an expander. We have a threshold which determines the level at which the expander will start to reduce the gain of the signal that falls below the threshold level. So it's exactly the opposite of a compressor. So I have a threshold, here it is, minus 19.2 decibels. Everything under minus, not above, under minus 19.2 decibels will be reduced. So I know, of course, guys, that you know this, but I also know that sound engineers tend to leave gates and expanders kind of on the side and don't think so much about them, because I did that and many did that. And today is the day when we close this conversation and we see it finally, and we don't discuss it anymore. But that's what this course of post-production is about. It's kind of like repeating things, seeing them more from a pro point of view and consolidating knowledge. So everything under the threshold will be reduced. Now the ratio will control how much gain reduction will happen for whatever is under the threshold. So let's see it back here in Pro Tools where it's more intuitive. I have a threshold which is minus 19, so anything under minus 19 will be reduced. By how much? Well, 3 to 1. So the same logic applies. The higher the ratio, the more downwards compression is going to happen, or the more expansion is going to happen. So if I increase the ratio here, whatever is under the threshold will be crushed a lot more. So now look at that hi-hat, how it went away. And then comes the tom key, the game of balancing this properly. Let's see all the parameters and then understand it. Attack, I don't have to explain it, obviously. Release, I don't have to explain it, obviously. Hold, it's something new that appears on expanders and gates, which is kind of like, okay, determines how long the gate reduction will remain active once the signal falls below the threshold. So you can kind of like add a time factor there, which keeps the gate or the expander active, even though the signal is getting back again above the threshold. I guess that you already understand that. Let's see it here. You see hold is 50 milliseconds. So now it's kind of like, you know, you have usually in a usual envelope, you have attack, decay, sustain, and release, and you have this sustain level kind of thing that just keeps it there, sort of in its maximum level of amplitude. The hold is gonna continue the expansion even though the signal went above the threshold again. So that's kind of what I want. So you can put it like faster or shorter. It's a little bit like you play in tandem with this and the release to make sure that the release of the instrument that you're expanding or gating is going to be natural. So if I put a longer hold, then the gate will never close, kind of. It will stay open all the time, even though I go above the threshold, you see? So if I want more sustain, I add more hold, but I have to be careful because maybe I destroy the work that I'm trying to do to get rid of the tail. By the way, I want to ask you honestly, do you feel it's a waste of time that we're discussing this? Because I know we have discussed it in some form in the past, or is it cool that we're brushing this? I really want your honest opinion there because I don't want to bore you.
Mostly boring.
Mostly boring.
Yeah, it's boring.
Super boring. I see. Great. So let's move on, guys. Let's just move on. Okay. I'm not going to cover it like this. I was following the book just so we follow everything. So let's do this. Okay. This is what you had. I think that hysteresis is a moment when maybe... Do you know what hysteresis is?
The 2 lines you showed us.
Yeah, I mean, the hysteresis is a combination. It's really the hold parameter. Together, it's kind of like a combination between the hold parameter and the range. It's kind of like, it is a way to artificially enlarge or shrink the sustain of something. You see, let's read it 1 second. Like, introduces a small amount of delay or gap between the points at which the expander engages and disengages. It's basically the hold. It's just called hysteresis. It's just called hysteresis in some... Well, actually, no, because it's in decibels. It's not in...
Sounds like some mental disease.
Yeah, hysteresis. No, but it's really like... it's a unit that comes out for mixing the hold and the range. Like, I mean, how far away are we going to be kept from the threshold and how long? That's what it is. So it's useful just to do transient shaping. I'm very happy that I asked you that question. If this is boring, I don't want to be boring, but I want to follow the book, so I want to see what this guy wants to discuss. So let me read this 1 second. Hysteresis works by introducing a small amount of delay or gap between the points. So expansion started, expansion ended. Between the points at which the expander engages and disengages. For example, if the threshold of the expander is set at minus 20 dB and the hysteresis is set at 5 dB, the expander will start reducing the gain when the signal falls below minus 20, but it will not stop reducing the gain until the signal rises above 15 decibels. So it's sort of like, actually in Ableton it's better demonstrated. It's this guy, bro. It's the floor, the return. That's exactly the hysteresis. Do you guys understand it?
Yep.
Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Dima too. Great. That's awesome. Let's see some other thoughts that Mike Sr. discussed about this topic. I don't need to read this. Expansion balancing involves answering the same question of compression. Yeah. Do we fix the problem when we did expansion here? Using high ratio expanders or gates with fast attack and release times can lead to something called chattering. This is when you hear like you know, when do you hear like the cymbals there? It's kind of like an important part of this. So I mean, that's what's called chattering in English. So when you use too fast attack or too fast release, you can find that problem. To avoid that, well, we need to play with the attack and release times. And also, you can also fix this with the hold time. Like you see, that's where you can visualize better what to do with the hold. Because maybe you want the hi-hat to not be crossed like that so fast. If I put the hold too fast, no, well, in this case, I have a good thing. Let me just Look, like this is really cool to show you how to do it. I want to use the hold parameter. That's my goal here. Leave the release fast. So imagine the thing eats the karaoke real quick. But if I leave the hold too long, like you see, like this is great. Like if I would have the hold too low, the opposite, sorry, too long. Wait. Oh, I don't have hi-hat there. Come hi-hat. Then I start getting that problem. But if I put the hold on the right position and the release, I don't get the karaoke. That's really nice. Can you imagine? Look at this. Great. Okay, that's pretty clear. And I know you guys know this, but I just really wanted to rewatch this. Okay. Let me stop this. This is what we were doing now. One way for gate chattering to be fixed is to play with the hold time. Hold time control surfaces are user specific delay between gain reduce reset and the next generation onset. Yeah, this is kind of what we just discussed as well. Just a few milliseconds of hold time can be enough to deal with most cases of gate chattering. Another option is hysteresis, which creates separate threshold levels. That's really great to see it. We're talking about how to avoid chattering. Hysteresis control is usually calibrated in decibels. Leave the control at 0 dBs unless gate chattering starts running. This is about the hysteresis. Turn it up only just far enough to solve the problem. Okay, look ahead latency. We discussed this in the past very clearly, so I'm not going to see it again, but it creates latency. And we arrived to transient enhancers. So do you guys use transient enhancers? I'm assuming that the answer is going to be yes. Just tell me, I don't know. Or maybe the answer is no, but do you use transient enhancers?
I use transient shapers.
Yes, like which one?
The same?
Yes. Which one?
Free one and DS20.
DS20 is like a paid one, or?
Yeah, it's from Xperia.
I see. I also know the SPL. There is an SPL transient designer. It's a very famous one. It's gonna be here. Yeah, we will see it too today.
Shaper box are like ghosts of transient shaping.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Dima, what about yourself? Do you use transient designers?
Sorry, no.
No.
I'll say no. Yeah.
Me neither. Let's discuss this a little bit. Me neither for now. Like, I mean, if I would have a better one, maybe I will use it. So, of course, we have compressor expansion gating. That's great. Digital recordings don't smooth signal spikes like analog machines did. So analog machines work whenever you had a peak. Naturally, they sort of like round those peaks. It's just about how the analog sound works inside a system like that. So maybe sometimes you need a tool that can help you to adjust the nature of transients in general. So we use things, the compressors that we use are threshold dependent transient designers. So what's the meaning of that? These are transient designers that work whenever the signal crosses a threshold, obviously. This only works on transients that are higher than a certain level or than the rest of the signal, that are kind of standing out very much. Upward expansion, which is what we were doing here, increases the dynamic range of signal above threshold levels and can boost the signal peaks as well. I mean, when you do expansion, because of the relative nature of sound, you also increase the level of the peaks that are being generated by whatever signal you're working with. So plugins that use triggered gain, this is what it's called, the transient designers, they work with a principle called triggered gain. So it triggers a second independent sustain envelope when the input signal docks back below the threshold. So basically, it's kind of like a copy of the sustain placed right next to the sustain that just ended because you were using a compressor. That's kind of how they work. This is called triggered gain. So it's sort of like, as soon as the signal, usually the compressor would stop working and then will start kind of like returning the signal to its usual value. A transient designer adds sort of like a tail of sustain of a copy of the signal. That's kind of how I see it. Threshold dependent transfer enhancement.
You know, actually, I used the one plugin which has a function of transient.
Which one?
An enhancement, but it's like mastering plugin. It's so I'm not using it like really обдуманно. So it just sits in my mastering chain.
I see. Look, this is the SPL Transient Designer, and you see one of the first things we mentioned here is like threshold dependent transient enhancement. So you see the first thing you see here when you open is like there is no threshold control. There is attack, sustain, output gain, and so this is a guy that will apply. Imagine it's a compressor that has the function of that. Imagine that you, like a user, wants to increase the attack of a signal, for example. So how can you increase the attack? You can reduce the sustain by making a fast release, making a fast attack, and making the compressor boost. And putting the gain boosting a little bit so the transients or the attack of the transients are favored. This guy performs all those tasks to the signal and then gives you a copy of that so you can add it to your original signal. Is that clear?
Yep.
Okay, great. If you as a user would like to increase the gain, the attack of something, you will perform a certain type of compression tasks. This guy does it for you automatically, basically. So with this, you can increase the attack, of course. Yeah, and then you see how kind of like, or you can reduce the attack too. But I don't know, I'm not so in love with this kind of guys. I feel that they do things that I don't exactly can't control, kind of. But maybe that's stupid of mine. And then I can increase the sustain, you see? So this thing will have a gate, an expander, a compressor inside of it. And it's just kind of like blending all those processes together. Compressing and expanding at the same time. And then packing that for you in a knob that is called attack. Let me see here. A processor that can use its threshold level to detect transients and trigger a momentary gain boost to emphasize it. So a processor can use its threshold level to detect transients and trigger momentary gain boosts to emphasize it. That's exactly what it is. Do you understand that sentence?
Yeah.
Plugins use trigger gain envelopes to have the ability to trigger a second independent sustain level. This is exactly the other side. Like this is the attack side and this is the sustain side. And threshold dependent transient enhancement has a limitation and it's typically not suitable for complex transient rich tracks like acoustic guitar or piano. I agree. You have to be very careful when you use these transient enhancers. A dynamic processor that detects transients in a different way is better for balancing them at mixdown. So, when you can be great at catching those transients with a lot of care and not just having a copy of the signal focus on the attack only, you're obviously going to have a better result. For me, these guys are secondary emergency tools. Like, I don't like to use them. I know, Andruja, that when you make electronic music or something like that, or hip hop, it can be really useful, but I'm talking more about mixing acoustic sources. Acoustic guitars sometimes can benefit for some transient processing. It can be used to remove excess attack, and we're going to see this now. We're going to see several examples. Transient processing can reduce blocky sounds of acoustic guitars without compression. Harder attack can make something sound louder and cut through the mix without additional volume. This is all about SPL transient designers and things like that. Transient processing can rebalance attack and sustain components with individual notes. Within individual notes, yeah, we're going to do that too. And third-party plugins, there is this plugin called Seedwell Audio Transient Monster and Voxengo. I have used this one, Transgainer. They are not so expensive. And different manufacturers may respond differently, so of course you need to compare. Let's have a look at a little bit of this, at least, like things that we can do with this, not only with the Transient Designer, but also with the expander. And then in the end, towards the end of the lecture, I'm going to show you a great use case for the expander that I finally started using, and it really helped me a lot. And I'm going to leave it as a bit of a spoiler. I'm not going to give you a spoiler. I'm going to leave it towards the end because I think it's I hope it's an important development. For me, it was, at least. Okay, so first I have an acoustic guitar here, and I want to see a couple of things with the acoustic guitar. Hello, acoustic, here you are. Let me switch this on. I have a lot of DSPs running, and I guess I have something soloed here. Hello, hello, my friend. Why I don't have a signal? Just a sec. Yeah, I see why. Just a moment, and I'll open it. 0.1. Yeah. Nice. I'm gonna open the Transcend Designer. Come on. Let's have a look at it. What do you, I don't know if you can hear it well enough on that system where we are through Google Meet. What do you think about this acoustic guitar? What could you do to its envelope or transients? Let's see. Can we do something to it, or? I just think it sounds kind of quite good. It's like there's very little we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds really good.
That sounds really good, yeah.
I don't really want to change.
Yeah, I don't want to change anything. Yeah, and this is, you see, like I have everything off. This is how it was recorded. It was like a DI, an M160, and a stereo microphone. I don't want to change anything. Now let's imagine, like, okay, let's see what we can do to an acoustic guitar with this guy. Let me see if there is a change here. Nice. It's not the perfect processing, but I want you to know that if you are in an emergency and you need to do something to an acoustic guitar, you can use a Transcend Designer for it too. You see, and there was a little overload there, so I just wait. And let's see what happens if I play with the sustain of it. Kind of just gives me the impression of being louder, that's all. All right, so that's a case with an acoustic guitar. I mean, I just wanted us to feel it, to feel how it sounds and what happens there. The other thing I wanted to do, yeah, back to the, sorry, I forgot for a second, back to the Transcend Designer. I was curious to see it for a moment a little bit better in the snare. Just a sec. Davai, snare. Up. Nice. But you know, like, I mean, maybe our conclusion of today is gonna be like, yeah, look at these guys, they're so nice, the Transcend expanders and stuff. You know what's my favorite way of changing the envelope of an instrument? Just like having a lot of resources. So I have a microphones that achieve that goal for me, right? Like, so I have a microphone that gives me the sustain, I have a microphone that gives me the attack, and that's why I don't end up using this kind of processes. But yeah, it's good to mention them, good to know that they're there, to know that they are non-threshold dependent, and that they work by just kind of like performing all the compression and expanding processes that you will yourself do, and then adding that as an added signal to what you already have.
Actually, with acoustic guitar, you need only 2 microphones to achieve this, a neck and body.
Yeah, a neck and a body, exactly. And you see, the fact you, a student of the DPO, course of music production and stuff, they will be thinking about all of these expensive, difficult processes and download this plugin. And you think like the person from the school of Marvel and Leo. Like, I don't mean to say I'm kind of joking when saying that this is Moscow Music School, but I mean the school of thinking of like you fix things with microphones and you don't fix things with processing. Like, or most likely you were thinking like this before, and now you're continuing thinking like this. Like, I'm really happy to hear this from you.
You're a loop, Leo. You're a loop, Leo. You're a loop, Leo. You.
There we go. It was a nice
Am I tripping?
No,
No.
no, but yeah, it was really cool. So, okay, there is this tempo-driven balancing. This is about triggering, basically. So, triggering gain changes. I mean, basically, this is like I actually didn't prepare so well this slide, because I mean I built it, but I didn't sat down and read it well. So let me just give it a read and be prepared for this just a second. Tempo driven balancing, triggering gain changes in sync with the song tempo. That's really obvious. Compression can mess up with note sustains, depending on the BPM, of course. Modern DAW systems can provide a way to achieve tempo driven balancing. One method is multing, by slicing up the offending guitar part and putting them on separate tracks. Yeah, okay. Another option is to use, I'm going to explain you what it says here in a second. A dynamic plugin that responds to incoming MIDI notes, allowing simply metronomic MIDI parts to be programmed within the DAW software. Dedicated tempo synchronized gating, chopping, tremolo effect can also give this kind of dynamic control. It's a good idea to find a plugin that provides a phase control or to adjust tremolo gain changes to suit instrument that play slightly out of sync with the DAW parametric grid. Look, basically, in this part of the book, Mike Senior kind of discusses like, hey, when you are doing dynamic changes, it's really great if you can synchronize this with the tempo of the song, and there are plugins and special parts of your DAW that allow you to do that. Like, for example, to change the release parameters of a compression depending on the BPM, if you have a BPM map or something like that. All of these things are really important. So just like it's important to consider the tempo when you're doing dynamic processing. I don't know how else to explain this. The best way I can explain it is with automation of the sustain of the compressor. I think that's the best way. And there are some processes that can be hooked up with the MIDI architecture of your DAW that can help you to achieve that automatically. It's if we're gonna be yes, if we're gonna be sound engineers, we need to know that these options exist and
never use them.
Sorry.
We should know that they exist and never use them.
And never use them, exactly. No, what is going to happen is there is a point where it's going to be not optional, and then you're going to have to know how to use them. Yeah. At the moment, what I do for that is just to automate things like you would do as well. Like I have not used this automatic matrix of tempo / compressor parameters yet, but yeah, it exists. Now, okay. We're going to see one particular case that I wanted to discuss with you guys. And that's the case of overhead bleed of hi-hat and how you can use an expander to get rid of that shit. And that is so important because that has fucked so many of my mixes today. So have you ever found this problem? I'm imagining yes, right?
The bleed problem?
No, the fact that when you have a hi-hat open, it kind of like wrecks your mix a lot.
Yeah, I got it.
Like in not only in the snare, because I mean we just discussed how to use the expander to get rid of the hi-hat bleed from a snare. We also learned that of course gates and expanders are kind of the same thing, but it's just about the infinite ratio. So expander is like a compressor, a gate is like a limiter on that world. That's all really cool. Now. Can we use this beyond the snare? And the obvious answer is obviously yes. And I have been fighting against overheads, against hi-hat in overheads for years. And with you, the last time we talked about this, I discussed this was like a long time ago. It was like when we were doing the mixing and mastering course in the last year. I discussed with you a plugin called Good Hertz middle and side matrix. Do you remember that, Dim? I remember you were there. Am I correct?
Not really.
Okay. No, I mean, last time we talked about how to fix the problem.
Maybe.
Last time we talked about how to fix the problem of the fact that when you have an open hi-hat in a mix, it kind of like starts becoming very prominent and very annoying. Last time I discussed this, I proposed to automate descent to the side signal. So we shrink the size of the hi-hat to grab the overheads and automate the side signal, for example. Like I would do that like that right now, and then I would grab here my side signal, and let's say, oh, here the hi-hat is gonna play. Wait, let me just go here, I think. By the way, I need to make inactive, I know this problem, I need to make inactive the trigger here and here. There is some little bullshit there. So the last time we spoke about this, I proposed this. Wait, let me just, yeah. This is what I proposed last time. Grab the mid signal, and when you have a hi-hat, just automate it. But I don't know, I started realizing that it just doesn't work all the time, that it's super frequency dependent, and it's just not a reliable way of fixing this huge problem. And so I came across with this, using an expander to reduce the bleed on a drum track, aiming it on the overheads. So this is a summary of that video that I put you there, like discusses how to use an expander to reduce bleed on the drums. They discuss like how to achieve a finished drum sound, and how to kind of like, you can isolate the snare in order for you to, what we were doing before, and uses an expander on the overheads, and that was really interesting for me. And so I wanted to explore this case with you and to give you this tool right now so you don't suffer in the future like I did, because I never thought about doing this. So let's do it. Let's grab our overheads and let's grab an expander. Is this not so boring, guys, or is still boring?
Not so.
Hey, hurrah!
By the way, about the first example with decreasing the side channel, you kinda can automate this with filter Pro
Q3, of course.
Dynamic side.
Of course, yeah, of course. You don't need.
I'm not sure, but in Pro C, in compressor, for filter compressor, maybe you can compress only the side channel.
Yeah, of course you can, bro.
Yeah,
of course you can. Yeah, and that's really cool. And that's really cool. Another function, or another way to do it. Look, what you're saying exactly, just in case, is this, like to grab the side signal. You see, like I change it here to grab the side signal. Maybe make a like a shelf, I don't know, like something like this. Let me just change the other side, up, and one of the things one could do is just like, let's see, you see, like it would be very easy to do it like this. Like we can switch it on and off, and I just like automated the parameter for switching.
No, you can do, you can automate it like completely, open the Pro Q.
Yeah, I know. You can automate the frequency, you can automate the gain.
I know.
What do you mean?
Dynamic, yeah. Can you see the, yes.
That's what you want.
Node. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I see your point. So you want to change like the threshold of the dynamic range or something like that.
No, it's not threshold.
Yeah.
It's put the band to 0 dB. This band that you created.
Just a moment, I will. Let me just do it here. It was not reacting how I wanted. So let me see.
Now in the gain control, pick the outer round.
Yeah, and turn it down. Yeah.
And it will be dynamic. Equalization.
This is clear. Yeah, this is clear. I understand. All I wanted to do is just to automate. Like what I wanted to do is to
only you mean
only when the hi-hat is open. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. So imagine that this is the on and off switch for that, and one of the things one can do is this. I mean, if you want the thing to be more natural, you can do this, and then that parameter switches on when the hi-hat is happening. Like, I mean, it's something that one can do. But I really realize that the way I'm going to show you now, it's a lot better and a lot even faster and more simple.
Yeah, I just realized that it's a bit more complicated task.
No,
because you wanna delete the hi-hat, which is kind of the same frequency as the
snare.
Not the snare. Those overheads.
Yes.
Kind.
Yeah, and so you gotta be careful. So these are my hi-hats. These are my hi-hats alone. And now let's drop a gate here, like and it sounds so counterintuitive to drop a gate on the overheads. It's like, what the hell are you gonna do with that? And so let's dial this. Let's see. Let's first look like you see, like there's very little separation between the hi-hat and the snares. So it's gonna be hard. Okay, so sorry guys, I made a mistake and I loaded the compressor. Excuse me for that. Expander gate. Let's just focus on this loop here. Normal. Okay, so I want to try to catch those snares. Bam. As much as I can. I'm gonna change, you see, like I'm gonna reduce the range right now, so there is no so much effect happening at the moment. Like, look. This 16 decibels, 13. That's a case of a drummer who hits the tarjelki too loud. You see, like what I meant, the soup of tarjelki. Okay, now this is where.
By the way, Leo, we can't hear Pro Tools. It's not a problem. It's not a big problem, but if it for a recording or something.
Thank you for letting me know. I'm gonna check it. I think it should be on the recording. I'm gonna check it. Wait. Yeah, it's working. In the recording is working. And for you guys, I know how to fix this really quickly, and it's here. Microphone, Zoom audio device. Hey, now you will hear it from the computer. Thank you, bro. So, okay, here is where the sidechain equalizer before the detector is going to make a huge, important role. So I don't want the detector to check out. I don't want the detector to perceive the hi-hat. I want the detector to perceive the snare. So let's get rid of all high frequencies. We can remove all high frequencies. You know how I like to do this, actually. And I don't do it anymore like this because I can think so abstractly, but I like to do it like this. I put a fab filter here, and then I see like what frequencies I can remove. I want to hear just the snare. Wait. And I don't want the kick. I want only the snare. That's gonna be enough. You see, like I'm gonna isolate that in the expander. So I need to get rid of everything above 750 and below 343. So let's make inactive this. Go back here and remove everything above 750. Here it is, 750. And the removal was 123, if I'm not mistaken. So now let's see. So I need to go higher. I want this thing to get triggered only on the snare. Still, the kick is triggering it. I guess you can see it. Maybe I won't be able to. Maybe this one is a hard one. I don't know. I'm getting a lot of the kick there. It's a hard one. Ah, sorry. My lower sidechain is not working right now. Now let me see this. Let's see if I can win this battle. Wait. Aha, it's getting better. It's getting better. You see, like my goal is that when the snare is hit, this guy starts moving. change the range. And I'm gonna move this a little bit lower to like 600 or something. Oh, and let me increase the ratio and the range too. Wait, I know this is gonna be better like this with a lower range. Actually, look. Let me see this. The release needs to be a bit more natural, I guess. Now look at this. And that's a very big deal, guys. I think we need to play with the hold a little bit. I'm gonna make it a bit faster. Bam. And of course, I'm going to have to gain boost the whole thing because I'm kind of like reducing, I'm expanding the dynamic range of it. You see, I'm expanding the separation between the highest and the quietest things. But when I'm doing this, I'm also making everything a little bit quieter. So, in short, and maybe this lecture, I mean, I know that sometimes my lectures that can be, I just show you this for 15 minutes and then we go home and that's it. And then it's like, why did you keep me here 1 hour and a half just to show me this? I don't know. I think that having a conversation, like a long conversation, all these things can be useful. And also to refresh some things and to remember some things. But one of the main things I wanted to tell you is, guys, after 15 years of mixing, I started using expanders on the hi-hat, on the overheads, and on the rooms too, and it makes a huge difference. Like, it saved my last 2 mixes. It gave me a very, very big difference. I'm gonna do the same in the rooms right now and see if we can get away with it. Right now, for me, it's a mandatory processing, like expander on the rooms and the overheads. We care a lot about this. This is very important, what I did here, right? Like this sidechain filtering here. And let's see if maybe on the rooms we can get away with an easier situation. Let's see here. Давай. I'm curious to see how much can I isolate the snare alone. That's better, maybe. And look at this, if I switch it off. That hi-hat will eat the whole mix. What? Now if I remove all of this. So I just reduce the range, so there is not such a big difference between the snare hits and those hi-hats because I felt that it was getting a little bit drowned, and that's all what I did there. Let me see the next one. Now I'm gonna switch it on and off. Do you like the results? Or you cannot hear in this system?
I cannot hear.
You cannot hear in the system, I see. Well, it's really dramatic. I hope that you hear it on the YouTube maybe, because it's really dramatic. And I'm telling you guys, like, this little lecture, seemingly inconspicuous, is going to save you shitloads of time in the future. Like, I suffered so much for this, and if only somebody would have told me, man, load an expander on the overheads, this is the reason why you should do that, I would have been very happy.
Understand what are you doing? Usually I do this with this dynamic.
Me too. I was doing it like this until now, and I find this a lot faster and less artifact prone. It doesn't give me so many artifacts.
Mhm.
So conclusions here. If you have too little dynamic range, you fuck your mix, obviously. Expansion can help you to increase dynamic range, and that's really cool. Use expansion before compression. That's a really good tip. Like, because you see, like, one of the things I can do is to put a distressor after this. That's really important that we read this. Let's see that I put a distressor after this on my overheads. And of course, I will not be, well, I mean, he's not gonna work now because this I ran out of DSPs, but let me just drop here any compressor. Like, if I want to compress this quickly, let me just grab here like drum compression, just like, if I switch off the gate and expander, oh man, we're gonna get a soup of hi-hat there. And then I can compress better, obviously. So I mean, using an expander and a gate, you should see it as your prep for compression. Partly of it, it's your preparation for compression. That's really cool that we've seen it there. Hold on hysteresis controlled may be necessary to avoid distortion or this chatter that I told you. So remember, the hold just like keeps the processing in pause for a bit of a time so you can avoid artifacts. Parallel or limited range gating may be preferable to moderate expansion in some cases. So there are also multiband gates and multiband expanders, or parallel. These things can be useful. You can also load like 2 copies of the overhead and have a on process lower in volume and a higher volume process signal. This can make sound more natural. Look ahead is very useful when expanding percussive sounds. Do you know what I learned recently? Like, I thought that look ahead was kind of like delaying the signal, and look ahead is kind of like the threshold remains untouched, but the compression starts before the threshold is really crossed. Kind of. So it's a bit really, the look ahead is a little bit really playing with the threshold, sort of like that. It's like some sort of knee function can be seen like that. Well, obviously compare different transient processors and see which one you like. Threshold independent designs are generally more effective than threshold dependent ones at mixdown. Tempo driven dynamics processing can be utilized by matching DOS metrics grid to the tempo of the music being mixed. That's really cool, and we should see this as an independent thing. I would like to explore this and tell you more about it later. And he's talking about when he says multing, what he means is like that you kind of imagine grab these overheads and you separate these 2 tracks. Let me just duplicate this, and then you do some special processing for it, or you can do automation in that moment. But he means, when he says multing, he means to do something like what I just did. Detailed multing, MIDI driven dynamics plugins, or dedicated tempo synchronization effects can be used for tempo driven dynamics. And yeah, and the last point that I discussed today was expanders in tracks like overheads are super amazing. Expanders like tracks, expanders in tracks like overheads are super amazing. Okay, I was afraid to open the can of worms of compression because we have talked so much about it, and yet, however, I'm happy that we did. I think we refreshed some things, we discussed some things that we know very well, but we know we will not discuss them anymore, so it's a good way to say goodbye to them. And the next chapter in Mike Senior's work is called EQing for a reason. So I think we're going to be talking a little bit about EQ for a while, and in parallel, I'm not going to, of course, give you basic things. I'm going to give you advanced things. And in parallel, I'm going to start also the next project, which will be to make the sound for a movie, like I was discussing with you, for a little clip of a movie. And we will have this for the whole semester. And we will start talking about this in parallel. Like from next week, we're going to start opening 2 fronts, the mixing music and mixing TV and audio for cinema and all of that. So at the moment, are there any comments, questions, ideas that you want to share? Are we cool? Are we sad? Are we angry? Are we happy? Everything is okay?
Yeah, good.
All good?
Everything is good, yeah.
Everything is good. Okay, so I am looking forward to prepare my lecture for next week and give you a good one. For now, I'm going to close this session a little bit earlier than usual. And yeah, just be alert, because soon I'm going to be giving you a big homework, and there's going to be a big project to do in between now and the summer. Okay?
Yeah.
So thank you so much, guys. Thanks for showing up. And so next week we will be on Thursday at 5 p.m. for sure. Today is an exclusion because I have a studio session this Thursday, and I wanted to start this Thursday, but we will have our lecture Thursdays at 5 p.m. If that's
From next week.
From next week, yeah, and they will stay like that because it just helps me. I tomorrow I have 3 lectures, and sometimes I arrive to Tuesdays, and I'm like, you know, I need to kind of like be ready for tomorrow. And today I have 2 lectures, so to have 3 lectures on Tuesdays and Wednesdays is a bit suicidal for me. That's why I changed my opinion. So, all right, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments, write to me. Subscribe to the channel. Click on the like button and the bell. Bye-bye, guys.